Hello Techies, welcome to your own channel Techies Chat. In today's question, we will be covering a quite range of interview questions based on HANA database, DR and HA availability kind of
The
things.
first concept,
Or the majorly asked question is the difference between the HANA database, HA and DR scenario. So what is HA? HA is basically high availability to ensure that the system remains available with no or minimum downtime. In case something happens with the primary system, there should be another system to take over or take over it immediately or with minimum downtime. Whereas DR scenario is like replicating the data and creating a separate data recovery site for each time. Like there will be continuous replication of the existing primary data at the secondary system so that in case of any disaster or mishap that happens with the primary system, the secondary can immediately take over. Basically, the concept here is same, but there are certain things that you need to figure out and understand more about it. Okay, so basically, in HADA HA availability, that is high availability node, we have the same data center. Data is basically like all the nodes are on the same data center, while in DR they are in different data center. For example, you have a major primary data center. Primary system is based out of India, and the secondary is based out of US maybe. So that is a DR scenario. And in HA, the data center remains the same. Purpose of HA is about avoid downtime, and for DR it is recover from the disaster. Okay, downtime for HA is seconds, but in DR it is minutes to hours. Why it is minutes to hours, that we will discover later. Okay. Now, for example, if you take there are two systems, there are two hosts that are associated with your HANA database. So the primary node fails, the secondary will immediately take over. Similarly, in DR scenario, if one TC fails, the another will immediately take over. So this is the major difference between the HANA database and the DR scenario. Now, the other question comes up is like, what are the replication modes in HANA database? Replication modes is there are three types of replication modes and two types of operation modes. So this is a major confusing question that comes up. Replication mode is like three types, replication is three types, and operation is two types. So replication mode is basically three types. One is sync mode, second is sync mem mode, and the third is asynchronous mode. Sync means synchronous and async means asynchronous. Okay, so these are the major types. There are three types of replication modes and two types of operation modes. So do not get confused here. You can note it down. Let's start with the system replication modes. System replication modes means how the data is replicated. Okay, so it is done in three ways, majorly in three ways. One is synchronous. It means once the data is transferred from your primary database to the secondary database, the primary waits until the secondary confirms, like the data at the secondary level, secondary system moves to the persistent layer. To understand this, you will have to understand how the data gets stored in the database basically. So if you are someone who is not aware about that, we will come up with a video on that later. For now, but you can understand it in a way that in a synchronous memory mode, once the data transfer takes place from primary node to secondary node, the primary system waits until the secondary system confirms that the data is properly stored in the hard disk. It means after processing from RAM to, like, from the main storage to the delta merge to the save point, until that the synchronous memory mode lets the primary system to wait. In asynchronous memory, the data does not wait until the data moves to the persistent layer. Okay, it only waits until the data is received in the memory of the secondary system. Secondary synchronous mode data waits until the process is completed. sync in memory, that is sync memory, the primary data source waits until the data reaches the secondary, not until all the processing happens at the secondary. And the third is asynchronous. It means the primary data does not wait for any acknowledgement from the secondary system. It keeps on sending the data irrespective of the secondary system is available or is properly able to process the data or not. So, sync and sync memory provide near zero data loss, that is low RPO. That is uh, RPO and RTO we'll cover in the coming up slides. So basically, sync and sync memory provide near zero data loss. It means the data loss is very low because the primary and secondary are in sync and communicating with each other before further data transfer takes place. But in asynchronous, there are high chances of data getting lost because the primary system does not wait or collaborate with the secondary system for any acknowledgement. Okay, so suppose your primary HANA database goes down, how will you perform the failover activity to the secondary? Failover is basically once your primary system fails, the secondary should take over that is the main funda why the secondary system exists. So how will you do that? This is an interview question. So if the primary HANA system goes down, failover to the secondary can be either done automatically or manually. In a HANA HA setup, using pacemaker clustering, the takeover is automatic, whereas the cluster detects the failure and promotes the secondary to primary. So this can be either done manually or it can be done like if you have a pacemaker configured with your primary and secondary. I mean, in your DR scenario, it will automatically happen. If it is not there, then you will have to do it manually. In case clustering is not configured, we perform a manual takeover using HANA Database Studio or command line. And this is a command line command, that is SDB NSUTIL hyphen SR underscore takeover. So this is the command SGB NSUTIL hyphen SR takeover, which promotes the secondary system to become the primary. After takeover, the roles are reversed and the old primary can be reconfigured as a secondary system once it is available. It means if the primary system fails, then you will have to execute this command at the command line if you do not have a pacemaker, and this will make your secondary system as primary. You can fix the issue with the primary system and then configure it to work as secondary. Okay, now what is RPO? This is the same RPO that we discussed in previous slide. RPO is recovery point objective. It means how much data can you afford to lose. I mean, you can consider it as a minimum criteria or minimum allowed version, allowed rate of the data loss. For example, if your RPO is equal to 0, it means there is no data loss, and if your RPO is 5 minutes, then you have a probability of losing 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes of data. So as we discussed, RPO is recovery point objective. We also have a recovery time objective, but for now it is recovery point objective. Okay, so how much data loss is acceptable? For synchronous, it is zero or near zero. Like for synchronous, it is zero, and for synchronous in memory, it is near zero. But for asynchronous, it is more than that. Now, what is RTO? It is recovery time objective. It means how much time your data basically takes to recover from the failover. Okay, so if RTO is 1 minute, that means your system must be up in 1 minute. And if the RTO is 30 minutes, then your system may take more time to recover. So that is recovery time objective and recovery point objective. So point objective is about the data loss, and time objective is how much time the system takes to recover or come up after the failover. Now, what is the relation between HANA replication modes and the RTO and RPO? So, as we discussed, RPO is recovery point objective. For synchronous, it is 0. For asynchronous, it is near 0. And for sync in memory, it is near 0. But it asynchronous, the data loss is possible. Now, this is recovery time objective. It means in synchronous memory, the RTO is less because it waits for disk write, For very low, because it waits for memory only, and for low, it is no wait. Okay, so basically, synchronous memory waits for disk, right? Like once the disk operation is completed, system memory has to wait for memory, but asynchronous does not wait. We will come up with a detailed question. I know this is a bit confusing. We'll come up with another maybe a short or a video on this question, so we can mark it or basically comment it in the comment section so that I remember making a video on this for this particular slide. Okay, now moving on to the next question. This is some important points, okay? When we run r3 trans hyphen d, it creates a trans.log file in the work directory. So basically, r3 trans hyphen d is a command that is executed at the application level to check the connectivity, whether the application system is able to connect with the database or not. Okay, when we execute that command, a trans.log directory is like created in the work directory. This log contains the database connection details and error. If the connection fails, I check trans.log for issues like network error, authentication failure, database unavailability, etc. Additionally, I can also check the work process logs like dev underscore w star and database traces files to further analyze the issue. So basically, this is a question that I added last minute because this is an important question. For example, if someone says that you have executed the command rttrans hyphen d at the application level, and you're not, and it is not basically, it does not return the 000 code. So basically, there is some issue with the connection. Then how do you further troubleshoot it or find logs of it? So that time you can see that when we trigger or execute the command r3trans-d, that generates a trans.log file in the work directory which contains details about all the errors related to authentication, communication, network, anything like that. So we further troubleshoot it in that. Okay. Now, how to check if data replication is enabled at your system? If you remember, we have discussed this command, uh, this sdb nsutil hyphen sr underscore takeover. Similarly, this is the command, that is hdb nsutil underscore sr underscore state hyphen sr underscore state. This is basically used to check if the replication is enabled. Basically, it is the command that is used to check if the DR or replication scenario is enabled with your HANA database. Okay, so this is to be executed at the database side, and R3 trans hyphen D is executed at the application side. Okay, so if replication is working fine, this can be this can be checked with this. Okay, to check if HANA application is working properly, we have this SGB settings dot asset system application status dot py to verify roles, mode, and ensure status in SOK. At database level, we check views. Like this is a little high level, so you can just keep in the commands two, three things you can just recall and say that you have worked on one or two replication things. Okay. But if you want to understand this in detail, we can do it at some point in the database and see how it turns out. Okay. Now, R3trans-D is executed. See, this is the same R3trans as I added it in the last minute. Now, this question is not related to DB but is important, and I just came across this. So, the question is difference between SWPM and some DMO with migration. So basically, you can say SWPM was used previously. Now, majorly some DMO is used when you are performing a DB migration, particularly when HANA from like any other database to HANA is migrated. Some with DMO is used because it does two things in one downtime only. Like it helps in upgradation plus data moving in the same downtime, while in SWPM, that is a two-step procedure. First, you have to upgrade the system, and then you have to separately basically migrate the data. And some with DMO does this in one step. Okay, now this is important as far as the database point is concerned. This is database refresh activity. So now there are some other questions that I have not added here, but we will come up with this later. But you can prepare it from your end. First question is like, what is the difference between the database refresh activity and the system copy? So some questions revolving around this comes up. So for now, we will understand what are the pre-refresh activities. This is majorly asked if the answer to your question, if an answer to question like have you performed a database refresh activity is yes, then this question is bound to be asked. So basically, first understand what is a data refresh activity. Data refresh activity means, for example, you have a three system landscape. Now you want to move the data of your production system to the quality system, maybe for testing purpose or maybe just for taking a backup kind of thing. So that process, changing the data or replacing the data of one system with another, is called as data refresh activity. Okay, so basically, here let's take an example that your quality system is getting replaced. The data of the quality system is getting replaced with that of the production one. So production system is your source system, and the quality system is your target system. So let's go one by one with the steps here. Planning and scope definition is identify source, identify target, reason, avoid wrong system override. So be careful about your system source and target systems in SIDs are correct. Okay, then we will log into the quality system. Since data will be changed at the quality is the target system. So basically, these checks are to be performed there. We will basically log in. This is basically different for different organizations, like what are the standard SOPs there. But majorly these things are done to check that in case any issues come up later, or basically just we want to validate after the system refresh activity if all the checks are done correctly or not. So this is a basic thing that is done. You have to do the system check, health check. For example, ST22, which is used to check the ABAP stack error logs. You have to execute this transaction, take a screenshot of this SM21 to check the work log, like what is the status of logs running of the system. DBA cockpit to basically identify the check the things regarding the database. Okay, take a screenshot of all this. Then there is a snap table. You have to ensure that the system is stable. You have to take a screenshot of this table, take a screenshot of background running job work processes, then lock users, and then check there is no activity going on during the refresh, because you will have to basically stop your target system before the refresh activity is done. Then we will take a backup of the take a full backup of the system at for using the HANA Database Studio or HANA Cockpit. Then take a screenshot of that as well, in case the system ends up with some issue. At least we can take it back to the original state with the backup. So backup is important. Then we will check the available space at the database level, since production will have more amount of data compared to the quality system, since it is the system where the user interact. So we will basically check if the space is available at the OS level using DBA at the OS level or using DBA cockpit. Okay, then we will check the STMS thing, we will check whether the STMS is configured, take the screenshot of that. We will check the this SM59 transaction code, like basically RFC connection and all those things. Then we will execute the transaction BD54 and take a screenshot. BD54 is basically the transaction code that is used to identify the logical name of the system. After that, we will have to deactivate the Scott transactions, like email activation thing. We will have to stop the SPAT, that is printer related things. Sorry, we will have to basically check the licenses. Then take a screenshot of that. You have to basically take an export of user master record using transaction SCC8. Then you have to create a transport of copies, so that a transport request is created at the OS level that you can later import after the refresh activity is done. Then you will basically check the users are logged, jobs are stopped, backup is done. So this kind of things, these are the main steps that are done at this pre-refresh activity. So you can think there are three big slides. Like I've just kept the fonts small so that it covers more topic. So basically, these are the three slides that you have to keep in mind. At least three, four things, or five, seven things, depending upon how much you are aware about the concept or the transaction codes here. Once this is done, then the actual data refreshes are not that difficult here. Then we will take a backup of the system. Then using Database Studio command line, and keep a screenshot of the source data copy. Okay, so for source you will have to take a backup, then you will have to take a export, then after the export, then that export or the entire backup we have to move to the target system using the like using the command line, like at the OS level, or maybe with the NFS or FTP, whatever suits or is done based on the data size and the company standard. That can be done once the backup is taken, and like basically the export is taken, it has moved to the source system, so it is moved to the target system. Then we have to do certain checks. First of all, we have to execute some like we have to check whether there are any we have to update the BDLS transaction code there, execute the BDLS transaction code to check and update the name of logical name of the system there. We have to do checks whether the system is stable or not. We have to basically upgrade like import the transport request that we have done, like use a master record and transport of copies thing there. Then we have to resume the background work processes at both the source and target systems, so that the things that are already running or the scheduled jobs that are running, that can properly happen. So basically this is a big what to say, uh, topic in itself, data refresh activity. If you consider it, it is very simple, like uh, take a export, import it and do post checks, but there are humongous numbers of efforts that are required here. Basically you will have a document SOP kind of thing once you start working on it, but for cracking the interview you must be aware of things. So I'm sure you might have not got everything about it, but if you are aware about the concept or understand little bit and keep reviewing this thing two, three times, ask questions, like net surf, ask questions on maybe the chat, so this will help you. Okay, so there is another question, I will just end keep it till here only, because more of this will create more confusion. So for now let's keep it till here and understand there are two major transaction codes. This major things, BTC TRNS1 is used to stop the production jobs from running into the QA. So this you have to do before the system is basically before the refresh activity. This transaction you have to set it so that all the jobs in the production and quality are stopped, and then you have to do it this transaction after the refresh so that they are resumed, like after your logical name certificate, all these things are done, that can be done. So if you have a system access by any chance, then you can execute these transactions and check this for yourself. If not, I'll try to come up with a video on this end-to-end activity soon. So till then, stay tuned. Ask questions in the comment section. Let me know if there are any suggestions, any more questions that you can suggest, or maybe need to understand more about it. I'll try coming up with basically demo of this kind of thing once I get a proper like a demo kind of system. I'll try to arrange and get these things done, because it is kind of not be done on the live system. So till then, try to understand the concept, try to understand, read the materials, take help from here, ask questions here, try to help each other, and let's see how it goes. So stay tuned and wait for another video. Thanks for watching.